As Parliament returned yesterday, there was a spike in chatter about a possible leadership challenge, maybe the return of Kevin Rudd. But was it only chatter, perhaps a skittish press gallery, or maybe prompted by the opposition? To help us fathom this and a series of other issues we'll get to, Joel FITZGIBBON, the Chief Government Whip, and Josh Frydenberg, Victorian Liberal. Thanks for coming along, guys.
Good luck with the new initiative.
We'll need a bit, but you'll help us out, no doubt.
With stars like us, Tim, you can't carry on.
The right recruits, that's what we need. Let's get to the bottom of that chatter yesterday. What was it? Was there anything in it?
Well, you mentioned the press gallery, and I think
did.
it has played a certain role in pumping this up to a bigger issue than is necessary. But you'll always get this speculation. We are now formally in an election year and sort of informally in an election campaign, and these things will be rumoured. But, one thing puts an end to this rumour, and that is there's no candidate. And Kevin Rudd's made it very, very clear that he won't be challenging for the leadership, and that should put the speculation to bed.
But perhaps of a challenge, but not that Labor might ultimately decide to draft him back into the job, because there are opinion polls like there were on Monday, which are bad for the party. Any chance?
Well, we're dealing with these hypotheticals on a daily basis. I was very pleased yesterday to see a number of, not just yesterday, throughout the course of this week, I think, a number of senior cabinet colleagues identifying the fact that Kevin is a real asset to the party. He's very popular out there in the marketplace, highly regarded, and we should be using him to good effect as we march to the election day.
45 votes, someone said.
Well,
who counted those?
Tim, if there was a count of votes, I would know about it, and this is all speculation.
Maybe you do know about it.
No, there is no.
You do know about it,
Josh. No, there is no count of votes. We're focused on getting on with the job of progressing our positive agenda and winning that election on September 14.
All right, just to get, so we can get beyond this issue, there is, of course, your personal support. You've been known for your support of Kevin Rudd in the past. Right now, today, who do you support as leader of the Labor Party and Prime Minister?
I've been known to have an obsession with ensuring the Labor Party's as competitive as it can be at the next election.
It's dodging the
question. Of course, it is on the record. Now, Josh, give me a chance, mate. There's no hurry. I don't want to leave you too much time, you see.
He's a hard jockey, this one.
I've made the point that there is no challenge, and of course I support the Prime Minister.
Okay, all right. A former nurse at the new Nauru detention facility told ABC last night that it was like a concentration camp. Some quite terrible descriptions of attempted suicides and at least rumours of gang rapes and the like.
Well, they are horrific allegations and reports. I see the department has rejected them. I think we need to be careful to find out what the facts are, but if they turn out to be even close to true, then we certainly have a problem on our hands, and we'll need to address it. And yes, it is a very difficult balance, that deterrence factor and making sure people, on the other hand, are treated humanely.
Josh Frydenberg, the opposition has been supporters of offshore detention, loud and proud supporters of offshore detention. So the opposition can really hardly complain or be the leading complainants when these kinds of allegations come up, can you?
No, but we've been saying to the government for some time that you need to process people offshore. Now they're being dragged kicking and screaming to it, and because they've rushed and they've bungled the Nauru detention centre, you're starting to see these serious allegations being aired. Now, can I just make the point that Scott Morrison visited Nauru late last year, and he had some concerns. He had concerns with the quality of accommodation, and he had concerns with the responsibilities that were outlined for the particular staff. He made them public, and the government's been slow to react.
Well, hang on, Josh. Scott Morrison's concerned about the standard of accommodation at offshore
He wants
facilities.
to go to permanent facilities.
But he's happy to turn leaky, rickety boats back to sink at sea.
No,
I mean,
look,
there's a certain inconsistency there. Surely.
Our turning back the boats when it's safe to do so is based on the success of that policy during the Howard years. The end of the day, Joel, the stories tell 1,000 words. In fact, and the fact is, under your leadership and under the Labor Party of both Kevin Rudd and Julia Gillard, we've had more than 30,000 people come in an unauthorised manner. Something needs to be done. You have done that at the last minute, and you've bungled it. And now we're starting to see this serious allegations.
Can I just say to him, Josh, I'm a former Defence Minister, I know a little bit about this stuff. turning the boats back worked once. It was horrific. It worked once.
That's not true.
From
it was
Josh,
more than half a dozen times.
Since then, Tim, they just disabled the boat. You know, it worked once, and it was very, very bad.
But how do you explain this? How do you explain?
But now they
policy?
just disabled the boat.
Now, you understand international law better than most. Are you comfortable with the party talking about turning the boats back consistently at sea?
I'm comfortable with that being part of our three-legged policy, which involves the TPVs, which the government has unwound, and also about the offshore processing. And they proceeded with the so-called East Timor solution, which they didn't even consult with the government over there, and turned into a farce. The Malaysian solution, which the High Court ruled was unconstitutional. And now you've got the serious situation of these allegations in Nauru. These guys cannot take a trick on it. Don't forget that Julia Gillard said in opposition, one more boat, one more policy failure, and we've seen more than 200, I think more than 500 boats, in fact, under your watch. And I think something needs to be done quickly.
Tim, can I just make one final point? I know you want to move on. We are turning people back. We're putting them on planes and sending them back to places like Sri Lanka.
It's not stopping the boats, though.
There are other policies that we need to see in this election year. One of them is industrial relations, by the way, which you have particular interest in seeing. When do we need to see the Liberals' industrial relations policy so that we actually get to debate it in a meaningful way in our community, not last minute?
Now, be courageous on this question, Josh. Tell us what you think.
I'm not going to give you a story right now because, in fact, I don't know exactly what the policy is going to be.
But you know how long a community needs to debate it thoroughly. Well, put a mark on the calendar.
I do know.
You know what you think it should be.
No, I do know, Joel and Tim, two co-interviewers here. I do know that we have proposed this to bring back the Australian Building and Construction Commission because we've seen greater militancy, lower flexibility, and falling productivity in our workplaces, and getting the ABCC back onto our building sites is going to be really important. So that's going to be one element of our policy. Then you've seen Fair Work have huge amounts of problems in the way that it's been operating. You've seen dramatic jumps in the right of entry and union militancy, and I think these issues need to be dealt with. So we will have a considered and a comprehensive policy which will come out at the right time.
Okay, to close out, one other issue that's kicking around a bit this morning, superannuation, suggestion that the government is going to have to go harder on cutting back on super perks for high income earners, and two former ministers saying, no way, don't be careful what you touch there. What's your view on how hard the government can go here, Joel?
Well, can I just quickly on IR say that Josh knows that his party's delaying their policy because they know it's effectively a return to work choices, and
that's a scare campaign.
It will be very bitter in the electorate. On super, we do need to be very, very careful. Aspirational Australia is sick and tired of constant changes to superannuation and the uncertainty that brings. We need to continue to be rewarding people for their efforts of the past. At the same time, there are some inequities and inconsistencies in the system that need to be sorted out. It's a very, very difficult balance for the government.
And where should that balance be struck, do you think, Josh Frydenberg?
Well, we said we will not bring any detrimental effects to superannuation, a bit unlike the other side. I mean, Joel's just given you a story now because he's joined with Peter Walsh and Nick Sherry in warning Julia Gillard, do not touch superannuation. I mean, the fact of the matter is, in 2010, Wayne Swan said he will not touch the tax-free superannuation payments for over 60s. You're about to do that, mate. You're about to do that. In 2007, you went to the election, you said you will not affect the superannuation of low-income earners, and you cut the co-contribution from $1,500 under John Howard to $500 now. So you are taking an axe to aspirational Australia, and it's part of your class warfare.
Let me help you, Josh, here. Tim, that if there's a story saying that FITZGIBBON said that those who have worked hard in the past under certain rules to get to where they want to be in life should be protected, then I'll be happy with that story. We've got to make sure that
that's not what you said.
There's an incentive to work. Hard work brings reward at the end. That's what aspirational Australia is about, and that's what we should be debating.
It's great to have you guys in. A great start in terms of lively discussion. Let's do it again next week, eh?
Thanks,
It's a pleasure, Tim.